They say where you spend your time says a lot about your values. But what about where you invest your money? Today we're talking about 6 key pointers that every impact investor needs to know. I'm Bob DePasquale from Initiate Impact Virtual Family Offices, and let's talk about impact investing. Now, there's a lot of terms floating around out there about investing and how to do it responsibly. There's socially responsible investing, there's ESG, there's impact investing. We're going to cover those terms first. The first thing I'd like to look at is SRI, and that stands for socially responsible investing. And this type of investing will look at different social, environmental, and governance factors related to the companies. So socially, how do they treat their clients and how do they address different social issues in society? From an environmental perspective, well, that's simple. How do they treat the environment? And finally, governance. What is it like to work there? How do they run the company? Many SRI filters will screen out organizations or negative filter organizations that don't live up to standards for those 3 things. Another acronym is ESG, and that stands for environmental social governance. So working with all the same factors that we just talked about, but in many cases, ESG investments are positive filters or companies that meet those standards. And the other term is impact investing. I mentioned this one at the top of the video. And this is where you make an investment not only for financial returns, but also because of the impact that the company you're investing in makes. And that can be a social, environmental, or some other issue. Let's get into those 6 pointers. The first thing to consider is what's important to you. Identify the things that are truly meaningful. There's so many different causes out there, it can get overwhelming. But if you think about the priorities in your life, that will help you make a decision on which style of investing to use. And once you've identified what your priorities are, then you can start considering the other vehicles. What are your options? There's all kinds of different ways to invest. It could be funds, it could be individual stocks, there's bonds, and you may want to address a professional to help you choose the right vehicle. The next step would be to do your research. There's lots of different organizations that provide ratings for funds, but there's different ways that they do this, and there's no perfectly agreed upon way to address impact or socially responsible investing. So you can check out organizations like Morningstar or MSCI, and they will provide data, but there's a lot of research to be done. You've done your research and you probably have come up with some options. One consideration is the cost. And yes, there is a cost to this type of investing, and it's generally a little bit higher than your traditional index funds because there's extra work that has to be done to manage funds in a responsible way. And don't get me wrong, it's worth it to pay that, especially if you have strong conviction about a specific cause. And the next thing is related to all kinds of investing, but it's all about diversification. Even if you're really strong on a specific cause, there's different ways that you can address it. And you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, as they say. Be sure to consider things like the size of a company, geography, developed versus emerging markets, value versus growth stocks, and other things that you could think of that could help you diversify. The great thing about data these days is that it's available in many places, and professionals can help you gather as much as you could possibly need to make a wise and informed decision. So the 6th tip or step is to address a professional and someone who knows specifically about this type of investing, and maybe even someone who has a niche in your specific areas of concern. So those are the 6 tips, and the last thing I'll leave you with is to be informed. Things are ever changing and there's always new organizations popping up and new ways of looking at this. So if ESG, SRI, impact investing, or any other term interests you, make sure you stay informed so that you can stay on top of your investment decisions and hopefully make the biggest impact you possibly can with the resources that you have. I'm Bob DePasquale from Initiate Impact Virtual Family Offices, wishing you a generous rest of your day.